going on, everybody? This is Barry Cunningham. I am the real estate investor and developer that you tune into to hear what's going on in South Florida news. Got a good show for you today. Hopefully everything works correctly. I don't hit the wrong button here or there, but stay strapped in because today I'm going to tell you how the mortgage housing market here in South Florida is about to be turned on its head.
Your source for profit. Hear what you need to know to succeed in today's real estate market.
Okay, so have you guys ever, I'm going to jump right into this because I got a lot to cover. You're going to want to take some notes. You're going to want to see what's going on here. It's absolutely nuts. I want to make sure the sound levels are correct. Cough. If you've ever seen the movie The Big Short, and if you haven't, I urge you to go take a look at it because it's happening again. No doubt in my mind, it's happening again. Now, if you remember the movie, and I'm going to play some clips for you to refresh your memory, and if you haven't seen it, you can basically hone in onto what's happening here. The Big Short was a few data miners who worked at trading companies found out that there was a whole lot of crap going on with the housing market. That basically, if you could fog a mirror, you could get a loan. Called it the subprime market. Everybody watching this video who was around in 2000 and 2007, 2008 understands what it was like back then. It was really the wild, wild west. You wanted to buy a house, you got a loan. No, what was it called? No income, no asset, ninja loans. You didn't need anything, just sign your name, you got a loan, which was a recipe for disaster. And disaster hit. But the way they got away with it is they would take these bad loans and they would package them with good loans, and they would hope that those loans would offset. They would hope that those loans would then, basically the good ones could shield them from the bad ones and nobody would know any different. But these guys went digging and they found out there was just so much crap in the mortgage market that they began shorting it. Shorting meaning they bet against the housing market. They bet that the market was going to go south. And south it did. It went way south. Now, was that a good thing? No, I don't think anybody wanted the housing market to go south. They didn't cause it. They just bet on it. They took a huge billion-dollar, multi-billion-dollar chance that what they were seeing was going to be basically the demise of the housing market. So I'm going to play this quick video, and I'm going to show you how what we're seeing today parallels what they were seeing back in 2007, 2008, 12, 13 years ago. It's eerily similar. No, we don't have the subprimes, but we got something worse called COVID. So let's listen in here.
Anyone can see that there's a real estate bubble.
Actually, no one can see a bubble. That's what makes it a bubble.
That's dumb, Lawrence. It's always more.
Okay, so I hope you heard that. I'll turn it up in case you didn't hear that. But what he said was everybody can see that there's a real estate bubble. And the guy who was basically backing him said, no, we can't see that there's a bubble. Nobody can see that there's a bubble. You know why? Because, number one, they weren't looking. They weren't looking for the indicators. Only people looking for indicators are people like me, them. No, and I'm not a billion-dollar hedge fund manager, but I look at data. So let me just play that again in case it didn't come through.
Anyone can see that there's a real estate bubble.
Actually, no one can see a bubble. That's what makes it a bubble.
That's dumb, Lawrence. It's always markers.
Okay, there's always markers. That's huge. What he's talking about, as I refer to them, is indicators. There's certain things that we have to look for as investors. He is a hedge fund owner, guy managing money for people. That's what he had to look for. He had to see those markers. You need to see them now.
Mortgage fraud was quintupled since 2000, and the average take-home pay is flat, but home prices are soaring. That means the homes are debt, not assets.
You understand what he just said? Think about that. I mean, if I have to play it again so you can concentrate on what he just said. He's going to go through three main indicators of the housing market.
Home prices are soaring. That means the homes are debt, not assets.
Okay. Home prices are soaring. Sound familiar? Means that the properties are debt, not asset. People are, because the mortgage rates are so great, they're borrowing more and more money. And because they're borrowing more and more money, it's becoming debt. Listen to that. I mean, that's extremely important as he begins talking about these three indicators.
These markers. Mortgage fraud was quintupled since 2000, and the average take-home pay is flat, but home prices are soaring. That means the homes are debt, not assets.
Unemployment, wages became stagnant. People can't get jobs. People can't afford more money. Then, of course, that leads to a problem. The house becomes a debt, not an asset. So what happened today that underscores what he just said? So again, following up on the news, I didn't make this up, but this story posted today on CNBC. Long-term unemployment is close to a Great Recession record. Record amount of long-term unemployment. That's a stagnating wage indicator if I ever saw one. Are you paying attention? You understanding what's going on here? Look at this. This is from today. The January jobs report shows high rates of long-term unemployment, which is a period of joblessness lasting at least 6 months. You grasping this? The housing market indicator that he used in 2007, 2008 was a great deal of mortgage fraud. We haven't seen that yet. Stagnating wage growth, boom, high unemployment, soaring real estate prices, people taking on more debt. A recipe for disaster. Almost 40% of jobless workers are long-term unemployed, the Bureau of Labor Statistics reported today, nearing the record 46% set following the Great Recession. So we're right there. We are on the precipice of a huge market crash. And I'm pretty sure your realtor's not telling you this. I'm pretty sure that you're not hearing it in your neighborhoods. And people aren't paying attention. They're simply not paying attention to the indicators that show us what's going on in the market. They're all here for us to see. I mean, I'll just pull a few. Here's another one. Rising mortgage delinquencies to show up in 2021. And this article goes on to say that refi boom to bust next spring. Mortgage Brokers Association forecasts a 54% drop in refinance or originations in the second quarter and purchases to rise sharply through March. The refinance boom is edging towards its third birthday, but like all good birthday parties, it will be coming to an end. The ride is about to come to an abrupt halt. Another indicator. This is dumbfounding that people aren't following this, and they say that I'm being a naysayer or a doomsayer because I'm trying to bring you some real important information here. Another one here, this one says that COVID savages U.S. economy. 2020 performance was the worst in 74 years. Are light bulbs going off? Worst? We start seeing things like record, worst ever. Is it starting to ding, ding, ding to you? Are the alarms going off? Something is really wrong here. They're publishing this information. We just went through an election. I guess last night they just did a $1.9 trillion they're going to give away. All of the indicators, not some, all of the indicators are pointing to what's coming in this market. I love this one. This one here says foreclosures are down. I wonder why. You know, this thing called a moratorium. but mortgage delinquencies are rising. Forbearance measures are keeping foreclosures down, meaning they're holding them in abeyance. The foreclosures aren't hitting the market yet. Despite increasing numbers of homeowners falling behind on their mortgages in Miami and in other cities. Man, I don't know what, I'm going to stop saying that. I'm just going to show you data, and then you can make up your mind whether you want to say real estate is fantastic, everything's going great, we don't have to worry about it, there's no chance of the chair being empty or moved by the time the music stops. But prudent people are beginning to see this. Prudent people are starting to see that we might be in a little bit of trouble. We'll be right back.
Your source for profit. Hear what you need to know to succeed in today's real estate market.
Am I scaring you? I'm really not trying to scare you. I'm trying to give you information, indicators that you can see and begin basically preparing your business as a real estate professional, investor, or agent, or otherwise, or a homeowner looking to buy or sell. These indicators are not things that I'm making up. I'm just showing them to you. They are all over the place. Let's go to the Tampa Bay Times. The Tampa Bay Times says the third quarter of 2020 brought good and bad news when it comes to who could afford to pay their mortgages on time. Overall, the national mortgage delinquency rate decreased from the second quarter by a little more than half a percentage point to 76.5% of all outstanding loans, or roughly 2.98 million mortgages. Again, why are they not increasing? They're already at critical level. They're already at levels where ordinarily people would be freaking out, but there's a lot of hidden data. That hidden data is based on a number of mortgages that are in some stage of foreclosure, but being hidden by forbearance agreements. You see, there's a whole lot of inventory that's being readied for foreclosure that never is seen, is not even counted in these numbers. And so people who know are beginning to look at shorting the housing market again. So let's look at another video from from the show, and let's see if we can't see a little bit more as to what they were talking about. This video here, it's basically people feeling a little bit remiss that they're going to be short in the market.
Don't do that. Stop that. Charlie. Oh! Stop it. Stop. What? You have any idea what you just did?
Oh, come on, we just made the deal of our lifetimes. We should celebrate.
You just bet against the American economy.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. Am I betting against the American economy or the South Florida economy? Yeah, I guess we are. I guess we are beginning to short the market. That's just a vehicle for generating revenue. It doesn't mean that, we're anti-American or anything like that. It's just that all these indicators are there, and only the people paying attention to these indicators are going to prosper moving forward into second quarter and Q3. Listen to more.
Yeah.
Which means, if we're right, people lose homes, people lose jobs, people lose retirement savings, people lose pensions.
None of which is our fault, but we're right. People are going to lose jobs. They even have them to lose. People lose their homes. The banks are going to foreclose. It's inevitable. People lose pension funds. A lot of pension funds are backing these mortgages, none of which we are causing. But as investors, you have to look at those three big indicators as well and say, hey, listen, this is going to get really bad. I want to listen to this last part. I may play it twice so you guys can hear this. This is really scary.
You know what I hate about banking? It reduces people to numbers. Here's a number. Every 1% unemployment goes up, 40,000 people die. Did you know that?
No.
Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Did you know that? Yeah, I mean, that is probably to me one of the scariest things I've ever heard regarding what we do as investors. I want you to listen to that again, okay?
You know what I hate about banking? It reduces people to numbers. Here's a number. Every 1% unemployment goes up, 40,000 people die. Did you know that?
No.
Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Did you know that? Well, you probably didn't because it's not true. See, after this movie was played and people heard that stat, it freaked people out. And so people started digging. And when they started digging, they found out it wasn't true. It's worse. It's actually worse. So, again, I go digging and I find this site. And it's basically somebody did a study based upon what was said in that movie. Are there more deaths from unemployment than COVID? And so it goes, and they actually quote the movie. Is right here. It says his initial source was Ben Rickard in the 2015 movie The Big Short about the Great Recession. That's the second time you've heard that today. Great Recession. Great Recession, 2 times. We're nearing that again. Every 1% unemployment goes up, 40,000 people die. Did you know that? Well, they go through all the different research they did and how does unemployment affect mortality, and they go through everything, and then hopefully you can see this line right here. A more current estimate appears to be more in the range of 47,000 deaths for every 1% point increase in America's average annual unemployment rate. 47,000. It's actually gone up. Did you know that? Just like the guy in the movie said, did you know that? Nope, you probably didn't. You probably didn't. I didn't. And we're heading right for it. Again, as we look at here, boom. Where were we? I got to find it. Here we go. Long-term unemployment is close to a Great Recession record. Remember, every point of increased unemployment, 47,000 people are going to die. It's already proven. You can do the research yourself. Hey, Barry's crazy. There's no way that's true. Yeah, go look it up. Go look it up. 47,000. So we have pensions potentially going broke. We have people with some of the highest unemployment since the greatest recession record. We have delinquencies that are on the market rising and being hidden. We don't have the subprime craziness of defaulters, of people who didn't deserve the loan, but we have a new category. Instead of default and fraud, we have default and COVID. And so all these mortgages are being held back from being foreclosed on. I go to look at the auctions every week when they come up, and so many of them are canceled. So many of them are canceled because of the moratorium. Do you ever look at the auctions? Do you ever see how many properties where they're just being canceled? Just hold on, we'll get to you. So all of this is happening. And it's not an if, it is happening right now. And when I get back from this break, I'm going to show you that the guys that were involved in shorting the housing market back then are doing it again.
Your source for profit. Hear what you need to know to succeed in today's real estate market.
When we first met Dave Burt almost a year ago, he was working on a thesis and a bet. He calculated that about 1/3 of U.S. homes are overvalued because of the rising risks from climate change.
All from climate change. So now we have a new indicator. Bet you didn't see that one coming. Did you know that mortgage defaults are about to go through a problem because of climate change as well? Are we talking about the perfect storm or what going on here?
Events are increasing. These costs are increasing. These are just facts. I'm just not wrong about that.
Floods, fires, and wind will cause more damage, making the cost of owning a home go up. Costs from higher insurance rates, higher taxes, and uninsured losses.
Okay, so now we're adding everything that we said before earlier in this broadcast. And now we're adding in the climate change stuff. Real or not, whether you believe in climate change, it doesn't matter. Obviously, the new administration does. They're about to push a whole bunch of climate change policies upon us. And here in South Florida, we're going to get hit with them because we don't get the fires as much, but we do get the wind and we do get the flooding. So here comes climate change to influence negatively the part of a mortgage that you really don't have that much control. Everybody can lock into a good rate. You know what your principal is. You know what your interest rate is. But the variables here are property taxes and insurance. And so as those go up, the property values go down.
Costs go up, the value of the home goes down, and consequently, the mortgage on the home is at a higher risk of default. Just like...
Okay, you follow that? As the costs go up, the value goes down, and people are like, well, what am I paying for? Why am I paying so much money that on this house that is no longer worth what I paid for? That reminds me of 2007, 2008. That reminds me when people bailed on the housing market. I mean, it's again, red flag after red flag after red flag, and you need to pay attention to this.
During the subprime storm, when home values crashed and millions of mortgages went bad. Bert should know he was one of a few clever analysts who recognized this early. He helped investors bet against the subprime market and make a fortune. He was featured in Michael Lewis's best-selling book, The Big Short.
Bert had the most sensational information and models to analyze the information.
Sure.
Can you do the same thing when it comes to climate risk?
That's what I'm doing right now.
Wow. With this sly grin he had, yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm going to make $1 billion again. Yeah, because these people don't even see it coming. And I don't really want to talk about it too much, but this climate stuff, coupled with COVID, coupled with mortgage delinquencies, coupled with false forbearance agreement numbers, coupled with all of this, taxes, insurance. Yeah, it's coming.
That was just before COVID hit. Now he's adding it to the mix because he believes climate and COVID together make the bet even bigger.
COVID has created a lot of problems fundamentally for the systems that support the housing market.
About 3 million mortgages are now in government or private sector COVID bailout programs, and there is no guarantee that those borrowers will ever get current on their loans again.
Whoa. Did you catch that? I'm going to rewind in case you were looking away or something. You got to hear what she just said.
Are now in government or private sector COVID bailout programs, and there is no guarantee that those borrowers will ever get current on their loans again.
There is no guarantee. Of course, we know that, but just listen to that. There's no guarantee that the people in forbearance will ever become current on their mortgages again. Why? Well, because if there's record unemployment, then more than likely these people aren't going to be able to continue or make good on these forbearance agreements. I mean, I'm looking at a story here, and this was basically a story from, where are we looking at this? Okay. This is from CSBS, a financial page. And so what they're saying here is that they go through the entire thing. Again, it's really dry reading. You're going to have to just look at this stuff yourself. But, they talk about what forbearance agreements are. And they go through it. And, because of potential COVID-19 related hardships, Trump signed into law the whole thing about the moratorium, but these people aren't going to be able to pay. And where does it say mortgage services have advancing obligations in varying degrees to pay principal and interest to investors in agency-backed security, as well as what he just said, hazard and flood insurance that can't be covered by escrow balances. Boom. Boom. He just said it. Hazard and flood insurance that can't be covered by escrow balances. Who's going to pay for that? Any of you guys who hold mortgages, are you seeing that the premiums on the insurance are going to go up? As a homeowner, have you been looking at your statement to see what the insurance is going up to? You can bet your sweet Bippy the taxes are going up. There's no doubt the taxes are going up with the way Washington is giving away money. So if you're looking at this and you can see all this stuff here, that it's dry stuff, but you're going through it all, and you can see that we've already leveled off on the forbearance trends, and there's nothing coming but more unemployment. What are you supposed to do? People are gonna walk away. They can't handle this stuff, guys. This is really scary, but at the same time, it's extremely profitable. And I don't want people to think that I'm a vulture or I'm looking to pick at dead carcasses. But as real estate investors, I told you what was coming. I told you that our time for feast was going to be Q2 and Q3. And sure enough, all the indicators are showing that to be the case.
Homes are at risk of foreclosure.
You're talking about very high delinquency rates on mortgages that we all thought were much higher quality than, for instance, you saw before the crisis.
That's why you short the market. In 2018, beginning of 2019, through the middle of 2019, these looked like great mortgages. Everything looked hunky-dory. The economy was steaming ahead. These are good mortgages. The banks were doing their job. And now, boom, the train went off the track. The proverbial train went off the track. If he is shorting the housing market, if he is looking at these indicators and going, hey guys, I'm going to ring the bell here because it looks like we got trouble dead ahead. If he's doing all that, when you don't need a crystal ball, when you've got the data that tells you that forbearance agreements are crap for the most part, that what's going to happen when all this stuff happens, and now you add COVID, and now you add climate, and now you add record unemployment, what's going to happen? Well, what's going to happen is massive housing crash. I'm not saying it just to say it. I'm looking at data. I'd love for people to challenge me and tell me I'm wrong. Send me an email, leave a comment, say, Barry, you're out of your mind. But when you say that, be prepared to back it up, because I've got data, and it's free data, and you can look it up. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Realtor, I think at this point you owe it to your client to look it up. I'm looking at a house today that probably worth $400,000 fixed up, maybe. The realtor's got it for sale for like $490,000, and I'm like, hey, listen, I need to make a profit and I need to fix it up, so I need to pick this property up about $300,000. Oh, she'd never sell it for $300,000. Well, what do you think it's worth? Look around, do a regression analysis. We know what a regression analysis is. Look at the number of foreclosures and properties in distress in your neighborhood. If you take a zip code and then you look at a property and you can see how many foreclosures there are in a certain neighborhood, let me show you what I mean. I got a program here that's going to blow your mind. Pretty much going to blow your mind. So I'm going to pick a property just at random. This property here is actually, I'm going to have to move my monitor and search. You guys can't see this, but that's what I'm doing. All right, so I got a property here, and this property happens to be in, let's see, this one here. Okay, here we go. You ready? Let's look at that. All right, so we got a property in pre-foreclosure, but I'm going to hit this thing called distress comps, and it's going to show me all of the properties around the subject property that are in pre-foreclosure. Can you see this? So whereas the subject property is this one, all these other properties here are in foreclosure. I hope you can see it here in the right-hand side. I can do that for any address in the Tri-County area. And I'm seeing that when I put in an address and then I ask this thing, hey, listen, show me the other properties around it. Show me what other properties that, might be in foreclosure. I'll show you another one. Okay, so this one's in foreclosure. And I go ahead and hit distressed comps. And, oh, this one only has 4. So 1, 2, 3. 3 around. But they're out there. And depending on the neighborhood, you'll be able to find more or less. Some areas of Pompano, some areas of Hollywood, just Miramar. There's just tons of them. But I digress. And what I'm trying to tell you is that there's just so much out there that people just are not aware of. They're not seeing it coming. They just don't understand that these foreclosures are sitting there. This property here is in Deerfield Beach. Again, I go distress comps. The Deerfield's a little bit different. Whoa. Look at that. Look at that. Can you see that? Can you see all these properties over here? Look above my head right here. Look at all these. Yeah, all these properties right there. I'm going to move my head. And you can see all of these properties are in foreclosure. There's 23 properties within like a mile or less of that particular house. Most of them, actually, let me just show you that. The ones in green are listed. This is the subject property. Only 1 out of the 23 are even listed. 1 property out of 23, the realtors have no idea about the other 22. But I want $400,000 or $500,000 for this property. You realize this entire area is infected with foreclosures? The entire area. I'm telling you, Mr. Realtor, your property is nowhere near worth it what you think it is. Your property, this subject property, is surrounded by properties in foreclosure. Okay, so what do you think is going to happen to your value when these other foreclosures are let loose by this moratorium? It's not an if, it's a when. So you better hope and sell it quickly, because if the moratorium ends in March, April's going to be a bloodbath. If they push it back to July or August, then September's a bloodbath. It's there. The lions are at the gate waiting to hit. You should be shorting this market any way you can. I'm telling you right now, I could do this at any address in the Tri-County area, and you're going to see the sharks around it. The sharks meaning the foreclosures that you, unless you're involved in this, don't even know about. That's scary. That's why these people are shorting the housing market. That's why he's getting back into it, because when you add all that stuff into it and you come back, that's why he's doing it. Former subprime player claims he can now short the mortgage market for climate and COVID risks. At the risk of floods, fires, and wind increase, the cost of owning a home will go up. Costs from higher insurance rates, higher taxes, and uninsured losses. Perfect storm. Perfect storm. If billionaires, if these hedge fund guys that nailed it in 2007, 2008, if they nailed it back then and they made billions off the failure of the housing market back then, what do you think they're going to do now? And are you prepared to get into it? Now, again, I'm about to end this broadcast and you guys can go, this guy's nuts. But I made a ton of money back then. I don't know about you, but I was walking into houses and people were handing me keys. I'm like, whoa, before you leave, you need to sign this stuff, you know? Oh, okay, here, I don't want this house. And they would just leave. Scout's honor. People would hand me their keys. We're done. Real. I'm not making this up. And I'm not talking about one time. I'm talking probably at least 9 times. I walked into a home, sit at a kitchen table. When we got done talking, the people just handed me their keys and left. I don't know if we're going to get to that level, but we could. And if this guy is telling me that he's getting ready to short the housing market, you damn well know I'm going to short the market. I don't need this anymore. I definitely don't need a crystal ball at all anymore. I can see that it's money time. So hopefully you guys can see it too. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me, make a comment. I'll get back to you. And of course, if you want to do a deal with me, give me a call. Talk to you guys next week, and go Buccaneers, go Brady. That's me again. You know what? I didn't do it again. I didn't do the rewind. Bye.
Your source for profit. Hear what you need to know to succeed in today's real estate market.